The wind howled against the truck stop windows as Frank Sullivan mopped the floor for the third time that evening. At 72, his weathered hands moved with practiced efficiency, gray Marine Corps surplus jacket hanging loose on his thin frame. The door burst open with a roar of Harley engines. 15 leather-clad bikers stomped in, boots tracking snow across Frank's clean floor. "Hey, Gramps." Steele, the club president, sneered at Frank. "Storm's coming, but we'll be fine. These bikes can handle anything." Frank paused his mopping. "Sir, that's a Category 3 blizzard with 60 miles per hour sustained winds. Visibility dropping to 0 within the hour. Temperatures already. Listen to Captain Weather over here." Steele laughed, his crew joining in. "Were you some kind of meteorologist?" "Just keep mopping, old man." Frank's jaw tightened slightly. "Marine Corps teaches cold weather survival protocols, sir." 30 years of stolen valor alert, another biker shouted. "Look at this fake Marine. But he bought that jacket at Goodwill." The bikers erupted in laughter as Frank quietly returned to his mop, the first snowflakes already turning to driving sleet against the glass. Steele grabbed Frank's worn jacket sleeve, examining the faded fabric. "Look at this costume shop garbage. Probably ordered it online with fake patches." "Real Marines don't mop floors, Grandpa," sneered Razor, a younger biker with skull tattoos. "They're out riding Steele, not pushing brooms around truck stops." Frank continued working, his voice calm. "Hypothermia sets in when core temperature drops below 95 degrees. Wind chill factor outside is approaching." There goes Professor Wikipedia again. Steele interrupted. "Next you'll tell us about your secret missions and how many bad guys you killed, right?" The group howled with laughter as Frank tried explaining proper cold weather layering techniques. They mimicked his quiet tone mockingly. "Oh, and I bet you were a general too," another biker called out. "What's next? War stories about Vietnam?" Outside, the wind reached near hurricane force. The building shuddered as ice pellets hammered the roof like machine gun fire. Frank glanced at the thermometer by the door, temperature dropping fast. He quietly moved toward the emergency supply closet, but Steele blocked his path. "Stay in your lane, old-timer. We don't need survival tips from some wannabe soldier." The lights flickered once, twice, then died completely. Emergency lighting cast eerie shadows as the heating system groaned to a halt. "No big deal," Steele laughed nervously. "Power's probably back in an hour." Frank checked his watch. Temperature inside already dropping. Outside, the blizzard had become a white wall of death. 0 visibility. "Diesel," one biker suddenly called out. "Something's wrong with Diesel." In the corner, a heavy-set biker sat shivering violently, his lips turning blue. Another younger member, Clutch, stumbled toward the restroom, movements sluggish and confused. "Early-stage hypothermia," Frank said quietly, moving toward them. "Core temperature dropping, bodies shutting down non-essential functions." "Shut up with your fake medical crap." Steele snapped, but his voice carried new uncertainty. Frank knelt beside Diesel, checking his pulse with practiced efficiency. "Weak and irregular. We need immediate heat conservation protocols. Strip off wet leather, layer dry clothing, share body heat." "You're not touching him, you freak." "Sir," Frank's voice carried sudden authority that cut through the chaos. "That man has maybe 20 minutes before moderate hypothermia sets in. After that, cardiac arrest becomes likely." The room fell silent except for wind and Diesel's labored breathing. "Listen up." Frank's voice boomed with unmistakable military authority. The room snapped to attention. "We have 2 cases of mild hypothermia progressing rapidly. Immediate action required." Steele opened his mouth to protest, but Frank's command presence silenced him. You, and you." Frank pointed precisely. "Strip Diesel of wet leather immediately. Get him into dry clothing from the lost and found. Move." The bikers hesitated for only a second before obeying. "Clutch, sit down before you fall down. Someone get blankets from the supply closet. Now." Frank's tactical assessment was instant and decisive. Body heat conservation is critical. We'll establish a warming station using furniture barriers to trap residual heat. Group the hypothermic patients together, shared warming protocol. Frank moved with military precision, organizing space like a field medic. Hydration status check. Hot liquids only, no alcohol. Alcohol causes vasodilation, increases heat loss. How do you steel started? Marine Corps cold weather survival training, son. Learned it the hard way in Korea and applied it in classified Arctic operations. Frank's eyes held steel. Now, are you going to help me save your brother's lives, or keep questioning my credentials while they die? Frank implemented triage with surgical efficiency. Diesel, moderate hypothermia. Core temp approximately 90 degrees based on cognitive impairment and muscle rigidity. Priority 1. He checked Clutch's pulse and pupils. Mild hypothermia. Shivering response still intact. Priority 2. How can you tell all that? Razor asked, genuinely curious now. Combat medic training, advanced tactical life support protocols. 20-minute assessment cycles to monitor progression. Frank wrapped Diesel in multiple layers using proper military technique. He organized the remaining food supply with logistics precision. Caloric intake calculations. 3,000 calories minimum per person for cold weather survival. We have enough for 72 hours if properly rationed. Frank moved to the radio behind the counter, adjusting frequency with practiced hands. Mayday, mayday, this is Frank Sullivan at mile marker 47 truck stop. 17 civilians stranded, 2 cases moderate hypothermia, requesting immediate medical evacuation. Copy, Mr. Sullivan. Weather Service shows Category 4 blizzard, winds 75 miles per hour sustained. No rescue possible for minimum 48 hours. Frank's jaw tightened. Steele watched his tactical thinking process, the same look he'd seen on commanding officers in Afghanistan. Roger that. Implementing extended survival protocols. Sullivan out. Hours passed. Frank monitored vital signs with military precision, rotating warming shifts every 30 minutes. His leadership kept panic at bay through the endless night. Diesel's core temp stabilizing, he reported. Cognitive function returning to baseline. Clutch shows full recovery from mild hypothermia. Steele watched Frank coordinate resources like a field commander. What did you really serve? Frank hesitated, then quietly said, Marine Corps, 1970 to 2000. Multiple deployments. What unit? That's classified. Frank's tone carried weight that made Steele's Army training kick in. When the radio crackled with updates, Frank used proper military communication protocols. His tactical thinking impressed even the skeptics, anticipating problems, conserving resources, maintaining morale. You saved our lives, Razor admitted. I've been around military. You're not some weekend warrior. Frank shrugged modestly, just doing what needed done. But Steele noticed details others missed. The way Frank moved with combat awareness, how he naturally took point position, his automatic threat assessment of every sound outside. What rank? Steele pressed. Frank met his eyes. Colonel. Marine Corps. The room went silent. Even the wind seemed to quiet, as if nature itself recognized the presence of a true warrior. Steele discreetly photographed Frank coordinating the survival operation, his tactical positioning, command presence, the way others instinctively followed orders. During a quiet moment, Steele posted to the Veterans Motorcycle Club network. Anyone recognize this Marine colonel? Says he served 702,000. Guy just saved 15 lives using military protocols I've never seen. His phone exploded with responses within minutes. Holy shit, that's Frank Sullivan. Medal of Honor recipient. Operation Gothic Serpent, Somalia, 1993. Led classified rescue missions. Saved over 200 Marines. He commanded Force Recon units, Delta attachments. Congressional Medal of Honor for valor under fire. Steele's hands trembled reading the flood of confirmations. Photos appeared. A younger Frank in dress blues, chest covered with ribbons, standing with generals and senators. This guy's a living legend, came another message. Disappeared after retirement. Heard he wanted privacy. Steele looked across the room at Frank, who was quietly checking on Diesel's recovery, completely unaware his identity had been exposed. A genuine American hero, working as a janitor, saving lives while being mocked as stolen valor. Steele felt sick with shame. Steele approached Frank with newfound reverence. "Colonel Sullivan, sir. I need to speak with you." Frank looked up from checking Clutch's pulse. "Just Frank is fine, son." "No, sir, it's not." Steele's voice carried military respect. "I know who you are. Congressional Medal of Honor, October 3rd, 1993, Mogadishu. Operation Gothic Serpent." Frank's face went stone still. Steele continued reading from his phone. "Colonel Frank Sullivan, Force Reconnaissance, led rescue operation under heavy fire, saved 18 Rangers and Delta operators, refused evacuation despite wounds, coordinated air support until all personnel extracted safely. The other bikers gathered, listening in stunned silence. 30-year career, multiple classified operations, decorated combat veteran, commanded special operations units most people don't even know exist." Steele's voice cracked. "And we called you stolen valor." Frank stood slowly, his humble demeanor unchanged. "That was a long time ago. Different life. Sir, you saved our lives tonight using the same skills that made you a legend. You're still serving, still protecting people." Razor stepped forward. "We owe you everything, Colonel. Our lives, our respect, our apologies." The bikers formed an impromptu formation, Steele leading. "Colonel Sullivan, on behalf of Iron Brotherhood MC, we formally apologize for our conduct and request permission to make this right." Frank waved them off gently. "No need for that. You're good men who made it through a bad situation. Sir, with respect, there's every need." Steele stood at attention. "I served Army Rangers, 3rd Battalion. Razor here, Marine Corps Infantry. Half this club served overseas." The revelation hit Frank. These weren't just troublemakers, but fellow veterans who'd lost their way. "We should have recognized a brother," Diesel said, now fully recovered. "Military bearing doesn't fade, even in civilian clothes." Frank smiled warmly. "War changes all of us differently. Some need the open road to heal. Nothing wrong with that." Steele pulled out his phone again. "Colonel, the veteran motorcycle community is exploding with your story. Everyone wants to honor you properly." "That's not necessary, sir. Permission to speak freely?" Steele interrupted. "You've been hiding your light under a bushel. Heroes like you deserve recognition, especially from those who understand the cost of service." Frank nodded slowly, seeing the genuine brotherhood in their eyes. Dawn broke with crystal-clear skies. The blizzard had passed, leaving a pristine white landscape. Rescue vehicles finally reached the truck stop. Steele's phone buzzed constantly with messages from veteran motorcycle clubs across 5 states. "Colonel, this has gone viral in the veteran community. Everyone knows what happened here. The EMTs checked everyone's vitals. Whoever handled the hypothermia cases did textbook work," the lead medic told Frank. "You probably saved their lives." Frank deflected credit as usual, but Steele wasn't having it. "Brothers, listen up," Steele announced. "Colonel Frank Sullivan, Medal of Honor recipient, saved 15 lives last night. Word's already spread to every veteran MC from here to California." A paramedic overheard and snapped to attention. "Colonel Sullivan? Sir, my grandfather served under you in Somalia. He talks about you all the time." By noon, Frank's phone started ringing. The local VFW commander called first, then the Marine Corps League, then the American Legion. "Frank, we had no idea you were in town," said VFW Post Commander Jenkins. "The whole veteran community is mobilizing. Everyone wants to properly honor you." Frank looked overwhelmed. "I just wanted quiet retirement." "Some heroes don't get to choose, sir," Steele said respectfully. The rumble started as a distant thunder. Frank stepped outside the truck stop to see a sight that stopped his heart. 100 motorcycles crested the hill in perfect formation, a rolling tribute spanning the entire highway. Leading them rode a Marine colonel in dress blues on a pristine Harley, followed by veterans from every branch and era. The convoy pulled into the truck stop parking lot with military precision. Engines fell silent in unison as riders dismounted and formed ranks. Colonel Martinez approached Frank with a crisp salute. "Colonel Sullivan, sir, on behalf of the United States Marine Corps and the veteran motorcycle community, we're here to render proper honors." Frank stood stunned as hundreds of veterans snapped to attention. Patches told stories: Vietnam, Desert Storm, Iraq, Afghanistan, representing 50 years of American military service. "Sir," Martinez continued, "your actions last night remind us why we serve. Saving lives, leading under pressure, protecting those who cannot protect themselves." Steele stepped forward with his club, now wearing clean leathers with proper respect. "Colonel, Iron Brotherhood MC requests permission to join your honor guard permanently." The crowd of veterans erupted in sustained applause as Frank wiped tears from his weathered cheeks. 6 months later, the truck stop had transformed into an unofficial veteran gathering place. A bronze plaque by the door read, "Colonel Frank Sullivan, USMC, Ret. Medal of Honor recipient. A true hero walks among us." Frank still worked there by choice, but now wore his service proudly. The Iron Brotherhood MC had become his permanent honor guard, visiting weekly to check on their colonel. "Morning, sir," Steele said, arriving for their regular coffee meeting. His club now ran a veteran support network, inspired by Frank's example of quiet service. The local VFW had unanimously elected Frank as post commander. He'd accepted, using his leadership to help struggling veterans find purpose and community. "Got another one for you, Colonel." Steele handed Frank a letter. "Young Marine, just back from deployment, needs guidance." Frank smiled, reading the request. "Set up a meeting. We'll get him connected with the right people." The truck stop walls displayed photos: the Blizzard Rescue, the massive motorcycle tribute, Frank with presidents and generals. But Frank's favorite showed him with the Iron Brotherhood, proof that redemption and brotherhood could emerge from the darkest storms. Outside, motorcycles gathered as word spread. Colonel Frank Sullivan was holding court, sharing wisdom with anyone who needed it.